It is such a cheap shot because Taylor Swift sells out arenas all around the world, consistently goes to number one. Taylor Swift is incredibly talented. She has pivoted time and time again. She's a true artist. People love her. They resonate with her because she is real. She's vulnerable. She's not selling an image that is fake and just banking on it for money. People that are Swifties on the whole, and I know there'll be people that are outside of this category, but they are largely making Swiftie bracelets. They are not sat at home wanting to learn how to make scam jam or anything else that Meghan made. So there is no correlation between Meghan's show bombing and Taylor Swift getting engaged. This is the most ludicrous thing I've heard, because publicity only takes you so far. If people don't like you, they are not going to tune in. That is a fact.
Indeed, that only goes so far, because people knew the recipe, they knew what was coming, and they didn't go back for seconds, even to point and laugh.
Yeah, I mean, you see the funniest clips online and they're not, you're not laughing with them, you're laughing at them. And I always said, to really know how well this show has done or will do, don't look at the first day. Of course, it's going to do the best it will do because that's when the core fan base come up. But you want to look at the second, third, fourth, fifth day. You want to look 1 month down the line. This, I've worked on so many projects where it starts very well and then the PR disaster comes because it's slipping down and down. And that gets very, very hard to spin. There's no way Netflix can be happy with this either, because it's not just like people can say, well, it's just America and England that don't like her. No, it's the world can see she is not a genuine person. She is not Martha Stewart.
That's for sure. And Tom Sykes, who is the European editor-at-large at the Daily Beast, but also runs his own Substack, The Royalist. Now, he was on the show last week talking about this, but he's gone into it a little bit more in his latest post, and I wanted to explore it with you. It's about the fact that King Charles and William have this troubled relationship, which isn't really spoken about in the press much because the mainstream media don't really want to come between Charles and William certainly doesn't brief against his father, even though there is some briefing from Buckingham Palace against William. But what Tom Sykes writes is that troubled relationship is making it very difficult for Charles to agree to a meeting with Harry. But first, something really important to talk to you about: scammers and spammers who are out there to ruin your life. We've all experienced more and more of those spam emails, text messages, and robo phone calls. And after Harry made millions by betraying the firm, quote, that's in William's sort of words or his team's words in his memoir and TV shows. William is being guided on the issue by his own grievance against Harry, but also by domestic public opinion, which shows a large majority of the people do not believe Charles should grant Harry an audience, thereby effectively readmitting him to the royal fold. A friend of William told me this week that William believes his hand has been strengthened by the renewed disgrace of Prince Andrew, over whose fate Charles has vacillated. That friend said, William always said, just cut Andrew off completely. It's not appropriate to have an alleged sex offender breaking bread with the royal family. Charles was so desperate to be seen as embodying the spirit of Christian forgiveness that he let Andrew back in. Then the Lowney book happened. Now, is history going to repeat itself with a photo of Harry and the King having tea? It's absurd to even imagine. It's over, and this time there's no going back. They say all political careers end in disaster, but in this case, it's Meghan Markle's entertainment offering, which has just received its RIP. Look at this from the Salty Duchess. After just 5 days, With Love Meghan continues to plummet down the charts globally. On day 1, it was ranked number 73, day 2, 85, day 3, 98, day 4, 118, day 5, 127. The whole world is well and truly over. Meghan Markle unsuccessful as ever, to use her phrase. And what's interesting is that I wanted to be completely fair, because you may have seen some of these crazy members of the Sussex squad are actually photoshopping Meghan Markle's With Love on Netflix charts to try and trick social media that actually she's doing great.
This wasn't just another flop. This was the moment when Meghan Markle's glossy Hollywood reinvention finally hit the wall and shattered into pieces. She had it all: a Netflix deal, a press machine, a carefully curated lifestyle brand that screamed authenticity from every flour-dusted tart and vanilla-turmeric marshmallow. Season 2 of With Love, Meghan was supposed to be the redemption arc, the warm, safe, look how relatable I am content that would silence the critics and charm the skeptics. Instead, it was a global crash landing, 5 days in the making. The numbers tell the story. Day 1, ranked #73 globally, not great but salvageable. Day 2, 85. Day 3, 98. Day 4, 118. And by day 5, a humiliating plummet to 127. Let that sink in. In a world where even reruns of Peppa Pig can hold the charts for weeks, Meghan's highly promoted Netflix project couldn't survive one news cycle. And no, this wasn't a glitch or a slow start. It was a freefall, a complete collapse. A loud, embarrassing rejection from the very global audience she once claimed adored her. But here's the twist. This wasn't supposed to happen. Behind the scenes, Netflix had banked on what they called hate watching. The idea that Meghan's controversies alone would fuel views. They didn't care if people loved her or loathed her, as long as they tuned in. But even that cynical strategy failed. The public didn't hate watch it, they ignored it. And the most humiliating part? Her own supporters tried to fake the numbers. Photoshopped Netflix charts began circulating, falsely showing her at the top. But the truth was quickly exposed, and the damage was irreversible. So what went wrong? Why did With Love, Meghan go from a second-chance fairy tale to a meme-worthy disaster in less than a week? Was it the content? The persona? The audience finally called out the performance for what it was. Or something even deeper? Something about trust, relatability, and the one thing you can't buy with a Netflix deal? The clues were everywhere. But the fakery that followed was what really pulled the curtain back. And once you see what her fans tried to do behind the scenes, the story only gets darker. When the viewership numbers started sliding, Meghan's most loyal defenders didn't panic. They plotted. The Sussex Squad, that fiercely online group of Meghan supporters, known for going to war on social media, launched a full-blown counterattack. But this time, it wasn't just memes or hashtags. It was Photoshop. Charts began popping up on X, formerly Twitter, Reddit, and Instagram, showing With Love Meghan as a top 10 global hit. Screenshots claimed she had dominated the charts in Europe, Asia, and even the US. Some even showed her outranking juggernauts like Stranger Things. The problem? None of it was real. Royal watchers and Netflix analysts quickly pounced. Every single regional Netflix top 10 list was scrutinized. The real data told a devastating truth. The show barely registered. In fact, Meghan only made 2 actual Netflix top 10 lists worldwide: Australia for 1 day and Sri Lanka for 3 days. That's it. No US placement, no UK buzz, no global dominance. Just a brief flicker before vanishing from the rankings completely. And here's where it gets worse. Because this wasn't just an isolated incident. Meghan's fan base had tried to manipulate the narrative on her behalf. Whether she orchestrated it or not, the campaign to spread fake success metrics only reinforced what many critics had been saying for years. Meghan's entire brand is built on illusion, and PR professionals were quick to weigh in. One media strategist bluntly stated, "You can't PR your way out of hard data. Once people stop watching, there's no trick that can bring them back." For a brand like Meghan's, which thrives on image, influence, and the illusion of relevance, that's lethal. But this wasn't just about stats anymore. The attempted cover-up became part of the story. People weren't just watching the failure. They were watching how desperately her team and fans tried to hide it. The damage wasn't just reputational, it was existential. Because here's the reality. When your audience catches you faking success, they don't just tune out, they turn on you. But even that scandal was just a warm-up, because the critics hadn't spoken yet. And when they did, they didn't hold back. The reviews were brutal. And one headline compared Meghan's show to something no celebrity wants to hear. It started with a chuckle, then a wince, then a full-body cringe. Critics didn't just dislike With Love Meghan, they torched it. The Times of London didn't pull any punches. One of their senior reviewers, known for his sharp tongue but fair critique, dropped a line that instantly went viral. "Watching Meghan's twaddle is like being waterboarded with trifle." Let that imagery soak in. Not just boring, not just out of touch, torturous. It wasn't a one-off insult. It was a consensus. Reviews from every corner of the media painted the same picture: an overly staged, painfully sanitized, aggressively inauthentic show that didn't just fail to connect. It insulted the viewer's intelligence. Meghan wasn't inviting you into her world. She was selling one, a brand, a version of herself dipped in filtered perfection and presented like an overpriced lifestyle ad. And audiences noticed. Comments poured in across YouTube, Reddit, and X. Does she think this is relatable? This is not a documentary. It's a Pinterest board. She made jam and called it a legacy. I'm done. Even Netflix couldn't ignore the problem. They had greenlit a show expecting wholesome warmth with a sprinkle of drama. What they got was a cloying, curated caricature, complete with handmade turmeric marshmallows and perfectly choreographed toddler tantrums. The problem wasn't that Meghan was rich or privileged. The problem was that she acted like she wasn't, while living in a multi-million-dollar mansion, using camera-ready lighting and baking crafts with celebrities as if it were normal Tuesday behavior. And if that wasn't bad enough, critics pointed out the recycling. Much of Season 2 echoed Season 1. Same flower arrangements, same awkward dinner party pacing, same breathless, look how real I am tone. It wasn't just boring, it was insulting. The final blow came when Peppa Pig, a children's cartoon, was revealed to be beating with love. Meghan in ratings across multiple regions. One outlet headlined the news: Peppa Pig crushes Meghan Markle in streaming SmackDown. And still, Meghan's team said nothing. No defense. No pivot. Just silence. But silence, in this case, spoke volumes. And as the reviews kept rolling in, Netflix's last gamble became painfully clear. They were counting on hate watchers. People are tuning in just to mock. But that strategy was about to implode, and take the whole project with it. Netflix thought they were being clever. They weren't banking on love. They were banking on loathing. The idea was simple. Meghan Markle is a lightning rod. People talk about her. People argue about her. So even if you hate her, you'll still click, still stream, still drive the numbers. Right? Wrong. With love, Meghan was the ultimate test of the hate watch phenomenon. But it turns out even hate has its limits. The audience didn't come back to gawk. They didn't bother to mock. They simply walked away. From a corporate point of view, hate watching has always been a risky game. Controversial figures can draw headlines and quick spikes, but sustainability? That's another story. Meghan's show didn't generate controversy. It generated indifference. Apathy is the real death knell in entertainment. It's one thing to be polarizing. It's another to be ignored. And that's exactly what happened. Streaming insiders say Netflix had high expectations for Meghan's second act. The first season had enough buzz, love or hate, to justify a follow-up. But when Season 2 dropped, even the haters stayed silent. Meme accounts didn't bother. Critics had already used up their best insults. Audiences didn't find it outrageous or infuriating. They found it boring. And in today's content economy, boring is fatal. Internally, sources claim Netflix execs were stunned. They'd expected backlash to fuel engagement. Instead, the backlash was apathetic. No firestorm, no think pieces, just a soft collective shrug. And the numbers reflected that. By day 5, the series had fallen out of the top 100 globally. Not even the most scathing reviews could reignite curiosity. Even hate watchers, the group Netflix quietly relies on to inflate certain shows, had better things to do. But perhaps the most revealing moment came from social media commentary. Viewers weren't just disappointed, they were offended at how manipulative the show felt. Meghan's curated persona, carefully staged to appear effortless, came off as contrived, transparent, hollow. And the celebrity guests, they didn't help. Critics called them PR filler, designed to distract from the fact that there was no story. Just aesthetics, pretty shots, fancy dishes, nothing that made people care. In the end, Netflix bet big on controversy. They assumed Meghan's name alone would do the heavy lifting. But controversy without substance is just noise, and the audience has grown tired of noise. And while Netflix scrambled behind the scenes to contain the fallout, the internet was already weaponizing Meghan's relatable queen act. One clip, in particular, turned the entire show into parody gold. And what started as satire became Meghan's biggest public embarrassment yet. It was supposed to be charming, wholesome, cozy core royalty with a splash of Hollywood sparkle. But instead of warming hearts, Meghan's jam and marshmallows moment sparked a tidal wave of mockery that even she couldn't have predicted. Let's start with the jam. In one scene, Meghan lovingly presents homemade jam in delicate little jars. "This is my jam," she coos. "No, literally, I made jam." The internet lost it, not in admiration, in hysterics. Within hours, scam jam became a trending phrase on X. People weren't asking for recipes. They were asking if this was a joke. Who makes small batch vanilla bean jam in a palace kitchen and calls it relatable? One user posted. Another wrote, "She's one turmeric sprinkle away from full-on parody." Then came the marshmallows. In an equally tone-deaf moment, Meghan prepared s'mores using, get this, small batch, vanilla bean turmeric marshmallows. She said it with a straight face. but viewers couldn't. Social media lit up. That's not a snack. That's a tax bracket. Turmeric marshmallows? For a bonfire? Is this satire? Imagine being this detached from Earth. Within days, parody videos were everywhere. Influencers and comedians began mocking her with exaggerated skits, handcrafted matcha fluff, artisanal oxygen, lavender-scented toddler tantrums. The spoofs practically wrote themselves. Even casual viewers were baffled. Was Meghan trying to be Martha Stewart? Gwyneth Paltrow? A TikTok cottagecore influencer? No one could tell, because the show never leaned fully into any identity. It floated somewhere between Hollywood illusion and Pinterest fantasy, selling an idea of authenticity that felt anything but. And the jokes didn't stop at food. In one scene, Meghan sprinkles edible flowers on everything, her tart, her latte, even referencing her child. "I sprinkle flowers on everything," she says. The internet responded, including the truth, apparently. But here's where it got real. A British mother went viral for posting her own counter show, clips of her toddler screaming, dinner burning, and dogs jumping on counters. No soft lighting, no camera-ready perfection, just real life. Her caption, "This is my jam." Thousands of parents echoed the same sentiment. With love, Meghan wasn't just out of touch. It was insulting. It mocked the chaos, the exhaustion, and the beauty of real family life by pretending to replicate it, with a turmeric marshmallow on top. And this backlash wasn't just online snark. It cut deep into Meghan's image. Because the show was never about storytelling. It was about selling a lifestyle, one that now felt like a parody of itself. But one mother's viral response would go even further. Because she didn't just make a post, she made a statement. And suddenly, the scam jam era collided with something even more dangerous. Public outrage from the very demographic Meghan was trying to win over. For Meghan, with love, Meghan was supposed to be a soft-focused tribute to motherhood, creativity, and quiet luxury. But for many real moms watching at home, juggling toddlers, dishes, deadlines, and emotional exhaustion, it felt like something else entirely, a slap in the face. It started with one British mother. Frustrated after watching the show, she recorded snippets of her own day, not with filters or flattering edits, but with raw honesty. Her toddler is throwing food. Her dog is stealing dinner off the counter. A sink overflowing with dishes. Her face? Exhausted. Her tone? Furious. "This," she wrote, "is reality, not Meghan's fairy tale." Her clip went viral. Thousands of mothers and working women began sharing their own chaotic, imperfect home lives in protest. Comments flooded in. "Meghan's show made me feel worse, not inspired. We're being gaslit with turmeric marshmallows. I don't need a duchess telling me how to host with love when I'm too tired to shower." And it didn't stop there. Parenting bloggers, lifestyle influencers, and even a few former fans turned critics called the series not just tone-deaf, but damaging. They labeled it toxic broadcasting, a fake, airbrushed version of motherhood designed to push an image, not connect with real people. The deeper issue? The show didn't just ignore struggle, it erased it. No mention of sleepless nights, financial stress, postpartum anxiety, or the crushing emotional labor that defines real parenting. Everything was curated. Perfect lighting, perfect pastries, perfect smiles. The chaos, the truth, was missing. One critic summed it up perfectly. Meghan's motherhood is the Instagram filter version of reality. And pretending that's normal? That's dangerous. Even longtime PR insiders weighed in. One said bluntly, "You don't win hearts by pretending your life is a Pinterest board. You win them by showing up real." Meghan, they argued, had done the opposite, weaponizing domesticity to sell a brand. And for many women, the message was clear. This wasn't about celebration, it was about control, about owning the narrative, even if that meant flattening it into something unrecognizable. It wasn't with love, it was with optics, and Netflix. They weren't off the hook either. For giving this show a platform, for framing it as inspirational content, for backing something that, to many working mothers, felt like erasure. Some viewers even reported canceling their subscriptions out of protest. Meghan's series wasn't just a flop, it became a symbol of how out-of-touch elite content had become. But that growing resentment wasn't just personal, it became financial. And for Netflix, the consequences were about to get a lot more real. It was the kind of embarrassment that even Netflix couldn't bury. With love, Meghan wasn't just underperforming, it was exposing a massive miscalculation. And subscribers weren't just annoyed, they were leaving. As social media exploded with mockery and critics tore the series apart, another trend quietly began building. Unsubscribes. Disillusioned users posted screenshots of their cancellations with scathing messages like, "I'm not paying for turmeric marshmallows. This is what $100 million bought." Netflix used to be edgy. Now it's royal cosplay. The platform's own bet had backfired. Instead of pulling in hate watchers or curious newcomers, Meghan's show had alienated a huge swath of subscribers, especially working moms, Gen Z watchers, and even former fans who once rooted for her underdog story. And the ripple effect wasn't just cultural, it was corporate. Behind closed doors, Netflix insiders reportedly scrambled to manage the optics. This wasn't the kind of failure you could blame on algorithm fatigue or bad timing. This was a PR-generated, A-list-driven, first-look deal-funded embarrassment. What made it worse? Netflix had already downgraded Meghan and Harry's overall deal. Their multi-million-dollar production contract had quietly shifted into a first-look arrangement, a corporate way of saying, "We'll consider your ideas, but we're not committed anymore." So when With Love, Meghan tanked on arrival, it confirmed every executive suspicion. The Sussex brand doesn't move numbers. The controversy has a ceiling. Without the royal family, there is no story. Worse yet, even Meghan's defenders couldn't spin the stats. The show never broke into the US or the UK top 10. The global performance was laughable. Sri Lanka and Australia were the only countries where it momentarily appeared, and only for a handful of days. The narrative of international star power collapsed. Industry analysts began openly questioning how Netflix could justify giving the Sussexes another season. "They'll have to fund it themselves," one commentator quipped. And even then, why would anyone watch? And here's the brutal irony. Netflix, once heralded as the rebellious disruptor of entertainment, had now become the punchline. They weren't showcasing risk-taking content. They were being mocked for bankrolling a flopped vanity project. But there was something even more damaging than the numbers or the reviews. The silence. Meghan didn't comment. Netflix didn't promote. PR firms distanced themselves. It was as if the entire industry had quietly agreed to pretend it never happened. No press tour, no redemption arc, just awkward silence, broken only by memes and rage posts. And yet, behind the scenes, another kind of drama was unfolding. Because while Meghan's empire floundered in California, across the Atlantic, a royal rift was hardening. And this time, it had nothing to do with her, but everything to do with her husband. And the next move in this royal chess game, it would come from the one man who might end Meghan's comeback for good, Prince William. While Meghan's Netflix disaster played out like a slow-motion implosion in California, a much quieter, yet far more consequential battle was brewing in the heart of the monarchy. And it had nothing to do with Meghan's marshmallows, scam jam, or royal exit interviews. It was between two men, the king and his heir. For years, the image has been carefully maintained. King Charles and Prince William, a unified front. Duty, dignity, stability. But insiders are now lifting the lid on a hidden rift, one that could change everything, not just for Harry and Meghan, but for the monarchy itself. According to reports from the Royalist Substack and sources quoted in the Daily Beast, the relationship between Charles and William is tense, difficult, formal, and fraught. They don't speak informally. They rarely meet in private. Most communication handled through secretaries. It's a startling contrast to the public image, and it reveals why Charles's quiet desire to reconcile with Harry is now clashing head-on with William's unshakable resistance. Here's what's allegedly happening. King Charles, driven by a desperate need for unity and legacy, has floated the idea of a private meeting with Harry. Not a public reunion, but something symbolic, something that might suggest healing. His thinking? If he forgave Andrew, maybe he could forgive Harry too. But William isn't having it. Sources close to the Prince of Wales say he's firmly against any meeting, photo, or symbolic gesture. Why? Because he believes it sends the wrong message. That after years of betrayal, book deals, interviews, and family smears, Harry can just waltz back in without consequence. William's private stance, reportedly, is this: no member of the royal family should be seen with Harry until there is a public apology. And it's not just about Harry, it's about principle. William reportedly feels that Charles has consistently compromised the core values of the monarchy. Where the king seeks reconciliation, William sees weakness. Where Charles invokes Christian forgiveness, William sees damage control. Remember, this is a man who watched his parents' marriage explode, who grew up in the media firestorm of Diana and Camilla, who saw his father's affair paraded in the press. For William, this isn't just a strategy, it's personal. And insiders say he's still carrying deep resentment, not just toward Harry, but toward his own father. Resentment rooted in childhood, in trauma, in years of silence and absent parenting, in what one royal friend described as a living rebuke to Charles's approach to duty. And now, as King Charles tries to play peacemaker, William is quietly but powerfully sabotaging the plan. He's refusing to lend legitimacy to Harry, refusing to give Meghan and Harry the photo op they need to stay relevant in Hollywood. And here's the quiet calculation. William knows that every meeting, every handshake, every smile Harry gets from the royal family becomes monetizable content. Meghan and Harry don't just seek reconciliation, they seek content. For Netflix, for PR, for their brand. So William is holding the line. No meeting, no photo, no loophole. But behind that stiff upper lip is a family in deep dysfunction. And what's worse, the media won't touch it. The mainstream press is still playing nice, protecting the royal image. But while the media looks away, another explosive rumor is gaining traction. Because behind the rift between William and Charles, there's an even deeper fracture that just might shut the door on Harry's comeback for good. For Prince Harry, the clock is ticking. The bridges are burned, the charm is gone, and now the leverage is vanishing. At first, Harry's strategy was working. The interviews, the memoir, the Netflix docuseries, each one chipped away at the royal family's armor and boosted his profile in the US. He became the wounded prince turned whistleblower, the rebel with a mic and a platform. But now, that same strategy has backed him into a corner, and the exit door is closing fast. What was once speaking his truth is now seen as a brand, and a tired one. And yet, Harry's team is still playing games. When the Daily Mirror ran a headline suggesting a possible meeting between Harry and King Charles, the quotation marks said everything. To meet Charles. It wasn't a confirmed plan, it was a plant. A strategic PR briefing, likely orchestrated by Montecito, to put pressure on the palace. Translation, Harry wanted to corner his father. If Charles declined the meeting, he'd look cold. If he accepted, he'd be legitimizing Harry's return. But William saw it coming from a mile away, and he wasn't having it. Royal insiders now believe William's firm resistance is the final nail in Harry's hopes of re-entering the fold. Because Charles may be sentimental, but William is surgical. He knows Harry's value, both emotional and commercial, skyrockets with just one photo, one handshake, one meeting. And that's exactly why William is determined to block it. It's not about punishment, it's about protection of the monarchy, of the future, and of the narrative. Because while Meghan and Harry continue to commercialize their royal connection, the firm is making quiet moves to erase it. No public collaborations, no royal events, no invites. What was once exile is now policy. The freeze-out is real. And it's working. Even in Hollywood, the shine is fading. Meghan's Netflix series flopped. Spotify cut ties. Archewell's impact has flatlined. The industry isn't just bored, it's backing away. Meanwhile, Harry's upcoming projects, including a rumored Princess Diana 30th anniversary documentary, now depend on proximity to the crown. If he gets that meeting with Charles, it's gold. If he doesn't, it's just another speculative cash grab. And that's the dilemma. Charles wants peace, Harry wants access. But William, he wants accountability. According to insiders, William's stance has hardened. No tea, no titles, no talks, until Harry apologizes. And it's not just about Harry's words, it's about the damage to the family, to the monarchy, to the Queen's legacy. William believes the only way forward is through silence and ice. No more healing, no more hope, just consequences. And yet, just as this royal standoff reached its peak, a completely different story burst onto the front pages. One that had nothing to do with Harry, but everything to do with power, privacy, and pain. Because suddenly, Camilla was trending. And what came out next left even the palace stunned. Just as Meghan's empire crumbled and Harry's royal leverage collapsed, a new and unexpected headline took center stage. Queen Camilla. A story leaked from a new book claimed that years ago, while riding the London Underground, Camilla was groped by a stranger. Her response? She allegedly took off her shoe and, according to Boris Johnson, whacked the man in the nuts. It was told like a punchline. A private anecdote spun into tabloid gold. But what should have been a quiet, powerful moment of survival became a circus. A girlhood trauma reduced to ghoulies jokes by the Sun. And according to palace insiders, Camilla never authorized it. In fact, they were shocked by the leak. The timing, suspicious. The language, disrespectful. The media, exploitative. And for many royal watchers, it felt like more than just bad taste. It felt like a calculated distraction, something designed to shift attention away from the Sussex fallout and the growing tensions inside the firm. But in trying to pivot, the institution accidentally exposed itself again. Out of touch, poorly managed, and still feeding scandal to the press under the illusion of control. And so here we are, a monarchy spinning, a media machine collapsing under its own contradictions, and two ex-royals in California watching their star dim faster than anyone expected. Meghan's show is gone. The memes have replaced the message. The fans are outnumbered by skeptics. The critics don't even need to sharpen their knives anymore. They've already buried the project. And Harry? He's caught in limbo. No longer royal, not quite A-list, and running out of narratives to sell. But here's the most brutal irony. The one thing they always clung to, their spotlight, isn't theirs anymore. The spotlight has turned, and this time, it's not coming back. Because in the world of celebrity, you can be hated, you can be loved, but once you're ignored, you're done. And now, in silence, under the weight of their own stories, their own choices, and their own carefully curated illusions, Harry and Meghan are learning a truth no PR team can fix. The most devastating thing fame can do is move on.